but you can call me Gus. And this is the Trashin with Gus, the first live. It's a new year, it's a new category of video here in the channel, and I would love to share with you guys my reactions and my impressions of the classic horror movies, or any movie, not just horror, right? That we can watch together and have fun, all right? So I decided to make this first live about the movie Scream because, well, first of all, it's one of the horror movies of my childhood, right? One of the classic ones, right? And second of all, we had some recent news that the seventh movie on the franchise, Scream 7, that was already in production, is probably gonna be canceled. I think we don't have a news that confirms this information yet, but the director of the movie, which is the guy by the name Christopher Landon, if I'm not mistaken, who also directed some other fun horror movies that are very common nowadays, like Freaky, right? He's the director of this movie, Freaky. If you don't know which movie that is the one with Vince Vaughn, that he changes bodies with a girl, with a teenage girl in the school, and he's a murderer. So it's like a switching body thing, like Freaky Friday, but with a murder switching body with a girl. Anyway, he was going to be the director of Screen 7, and once the studio decided to remove Melissa Barrera from the movie, Melissa Barrera, she was playing Sam Carpenter, the protagonist of Screen 5 and 6. They decided, the director decided to leave the project as well. So now we don't have a director and we don't have a protagonist. Plus, Jen Ortega, who played Sam's sister, Tara, also decided to leave. It's not, I don't think it's confirmed, but recent news suggests that this is the case. So they don't have the main actresses and they don't have a director. So probably the seventh movie, which probably was gonna be with a Christmas setting, is not gonna happen. So that's very sad in some ways. But also, I'm a fan of Scream. Like I'm saying, I'm choosing this movie here to watch because it's one of my favorites from my childhood. But I don't necessarily like or I desire for many sequels in this franchise. I remember having a great nostalgia for watching the first one when I was 8 years old, and the second one when I was 10. And by the time the third one came out, which was 3 years later after the second one, it was in 2000, and I was old enough to go to the movies. My brother took me to watch Scream 3, and I have a great nostalgia for that movie as well, although it's not the best in the original trilogy, because it had a definite ending for me to the whole mythology of the Scream movies with the character Sidney Prescott. And I remember going out of that movie feeling a sense of ending that will complete the whole saga. And it didn't necessarily needed a sequel until 11 years later we got Scream 4, and I went to watch that as well on opening night here in Brazil, because I'm a Brazilian guy. If you guys don't know, I'm not in America, I am in Brazil. And also, I did watch Scream 5, which came, I think, 10 years after Scream 4, right? And I did watch Scream 6 recently in the cinema. Recently, I mean last year. And, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this franchise, but I don't necessarily desire or wish that there are many sequels and many movies in the franchise for me to be satisfied with the whole thing. I'm already satisfied with all the movies that we got. But anyway, without further ado, here we have I have the Brazilian cover for the movie that, as you can see, is not the name Scream. Let me just do something here. My cat is trying to participate on this live. Here she is. If you guys don't know her, her name is Twiggy. and she can keep quiet as any cat do. She might come to my lap in a few minutes or not. She's just smelling me now. But anyway, we have here my DVD cover because I will watching my DVD, not in the usual streaming. As you can see, the name is not Scream, but in Portuguese, Pânico, and in if I translate Pânico for you, or if you understand Portuguese, the name is Panic in Portuguese. Don't ask me why they decided to use this translation, translate Scream for Panic in Portuguese. But anyway, we know the movie here as Panic. All right, and let's go. I mean, my idea is to watch the movie on the mute. I cannot have the audio playing during the live because it might get some copyright issues, and I don't want to get sued. But as I can show you, I am positioned very carefully not to show the reflection on the screen right there. And as you can see, there is a part of the Dimension logo right there on the screen. So I will start to watch in a few minutes. And my cat is definitely willing to participate on this live. Let me just put her in a safe place so I don't have problems. Much fur. I don't have problems with her pulling the cables of my microphone. Anyway, like I said, is on the mute. You will not be able to hear the movie, but I will comment all the scenes and all the things, and as we go. And if you want to watch in your house, in the streaming or in the DVD or in the Blu-ray, if you have it, is up to you. I hope you do because it's more fun. So right now I am in the Dimensions Films logo. So I am a couple of seconds in the movie, and I will do a countdown. So let's do a countdown in 3, 2, 1. Let's watch it. So there you go. Now we have the logo Scream on the screen, no pun intended. And I like the movie how it starts straight to the point, right? The first one, I mean, all the movies we have this intro with the telephone call and the ghost face calling. And here we have Drew Barrymore in one of her more iconic roles. And one of the things that I really love about this intro is that if you've never watched a Scream movie before, and you don't know nothing about Ghostface, and you don't know nothing about what it is about, this first scene is very tense because you don't know exactly what is going to happen, right? As it happened in the first time I watched the movie. When I was 8 years old, I had no idea who was Ghostface, what was the iconic mask. So for me, this first scene here is very... It makes you delve into the tension, and it calls your eye very fast, right? Especially because of the dialogue. What's your favorite scary movie? And she is just making some popcorn, and she's just chit-chatting with the guy and not really knowing who he is. She talks about Nightmare on Elm Street, another great classic of Wes Craven, right? Freddy Krueger. And this beginning is so, the dialogue is already very interesting, especially if you are a horror movie fan, because they are talking about horror movies in a very, you know, relaxing way and kind of flirty until he, which happened right now, he just gave a clue that he might be watching her. And from that point on, I remember when I was a kid, you know, the whole environment of the scene with the house and the pool, and she is watching the window. I mean, she's watching the outside of the house through these big windows on the doors and on the windows and whatever. It's very, very creepy, right? Knowing that this girl is alone in the house with this big house with this big garden, and a guy's outside, might be outside, pranking calling her, or no, or he might actually be outside, which is something that when I was a kid I thought maybe this is just a prank call, especially because we're seeing Drew Barrymore. I wasn't aware who she was when I was a kid exactly, but in the next years, once I started to watch again and again and again, I started to think, this is a great idea to put her in this character, because for those who don't know nothing about Scream, like I said before, and see Drew Barrymore, see a familiar face, right? Go, wait a second, is she the main star of this movie? So she's probably gonna survive. Which I actually thought when I was a kid. I thought she's going to survive. There's no way she's gonna get killed in the first scene. She's probably the main character, especially because she is on the cover of the movie. She's going to survive, right? This is just the first maybe introduction to the plot, but just a traumatic event that this girl will probably have to deal with later in the movie. So when the whole thing ends, spoiler alert, when the ghost face kills her, it's even more shocking because you didn't know how cruel this whole start would be, and how relentless, which comes back later when Sydney is attacked the first time, right? It plays with your mind. Is she gonna get killed as well? Because she now this girl it looks like she's the main star, so she I don't think they will do that again, but now it's a risky situation for all these characters, right? And here, I think her performance, Drew Barrymore's performance here, is what sells this scene, right? The whole despair and the whole fear and panic, all right, of being watched from someone who is outside the house. And now he tells her to take a peek at the pool, and that's when she sees the guy, her boyfriend, right, and knows, okay, now this is real. This is a real threat. This guy's not pranking calling me. This is not a prank call anymore. This is a real shit. So let me drink some water. Her performance is absolutely amazing in this scene. And one thing that I remember that Wes Craven, the director, commented on the commentary section of the DVD is that she during this first scene, in order to get Drew Barrymore to cry and show this fear and despair, he was actually talking to her on the phone and saying some very creepy stuff in order to get that reaction from her. For example, he said during the time of the filming of the movie, there was this case of a guy who killed a dog, killed his own dog by burning it, which is a very shocking and frightening situation, especially for me because I'm an animal lover, as you could see right here. Now my cat is by my side. She decided to relax, but the whole thing is that, let me just get here because I might show the movie. He was actually impersonating the guy who killed the dog for her in the phone, saying things like, "Oh, I'm lighting the lighter," I'm going to do it. You know, he was instigating her fear and her emotions in order to get her crying, and that was very effective. And as she probably is a animal lover as well, that the whole strategy was very effective. Um, and there you go. I mean, the I remember, you know, very clearly as I was watching as a kid, because I was watching with my brother and my cousins this movie in my grandma's house, and we were watching on VHS, of course. And the thing is that uh, as a kid, right, as an 8-year-old kid, I didn't watch many horror movies, and I didn't like to watch horror movies. I was afraid of them, actually, right? I was a guy who made friends with the darkness way later in my life. But that being said, at the time I didn't like it at all. I was terrified of the alien. I was terrified of who else? Chucky, especially Chucky. I hated Chucky. But so I didn't know what I was going into when I started to watch Scream as a kid. And when this whole scene, which now is the part that she's running from him, I have to describe a little what's happening in the movie. She is running. He finally threw the chair over the glass door, and we still didn't see Ghostface, right? That's the most scary of the scene. He passes along in the corridor as a figure, you know, as a silhouette, and you don't know exactly what the hell is this guy, but you know she's in trouble. But here's the point: I didn't know what I was going into when I was a kid, and by that, as this scene here developed, I remember thinking with myself, I just got into something very creepy. I shouldn't have come here to watch this movie. I remember I used to watch a lot of movies that my aunt and my cousins rented on the video store, especially action movies, sci-fi, all these things, but horror movies, not enough. And that was a different situation by when I was watching this one. And the thing is, most of this scene, especially during this part where the ghost face is lurking around the house and she's going outside and seeing her parents' car coming on the road, I remember watching that and and being so creeped out, and so, you know, the tension was so great that I started watching the scene basically like this. I put my hands on my face. I couldn't watch it. So because I knew something bad was going to happen. And then when Ghostface finally revealed himself, I had to remove, you know, my fingers and what was happening. Exactly now. Now is the iconic face catches her and stabs her in the chest. And now comes the shocking part, right? I was not afraid anymore because the evil, the great evil of the scene was revealed. But I was shocked by seeing her being stabbed and bleeding, and I was like, no, this is not possible. She won't survive. I mean, she has to. She's the main star. I was thinking, at least. So it's a very tense and great intro, but also a very shocking and sad one, right? Because she almost is able to call her parents, and they enter the house, and there is this whole thing that she lays down on the floor, and the ghost face killer gets over her and is going to stab her again, and she's able to pull his mask away, but we don't see who it is. And so the whole scene is perfectly crafted, right? In all the senses. Because it sets this plot that is unbelievably mysterious. Why is this girl dying? Who is this killer? what is this whole horror movie thing, right? And these questions that he makes on the phone. I bet many people would not get right to the first question that he does, right, about Jason Voorhees. Who is the killer in the first Friday the 13th? It's not Jason, it's his mother. Many people wouldn't get that, which is exactly what happened with Casey, the Drew Barrymore's character. And then in the end, the most graphic and absolutely cruel thing is that we see her corpse hanging on the tree, right? All gutted, and yeah. It is a very perfectly suspenseful and iconic intro, right? And obviously, none of the other sequels to Scream was able to reproduce this tension and this iconic factor, but they didn't have to because it was impossible to do that anyway. But that's what makes this movie so classic. And now we are introduced to Sydney and her boyfriend Billy Loomis. Spoiler alert, if you know who Billy Loomis is, you know that she's in trouble, but for now, he's just a boyfriend, right? Coming into her window. And by this time, the actor who plays Billy, what's his name? Skid Ulrich. He looks a lot like Johnny Depp, which I think is probably something that Wes Craven wanted to repeat, maybe, to bring a guy that is looks a lot like Johnny Depp from Nightmare on Elm Street. And Skid Ulrich is a very good actor in his own right, of course, but he is undeniable the similarities between them. And I have to, since we arrived in the Sydney presentation, introduction, in the movie, I have to confess something that I might have said in some of the videos that I've done in the channel, but I don't know. Neve Campbell, who plays Sydney, is my first crush in life. Absolutely. She was my first, I was 8 years old when I watched the first Scream, but it wasn't in the first Scream that I got a crush on her, in fact. I don't remember in the first Scream actually thinking those things, having those feelings, especially because I was 8 years old. But when Scream 2 arrived, and it was 2 years later here in Brazil, because Scream 2 actually came out in 97 in America, right? But in Brazil, it came 1 year later. Believe it, guys. This is really bizarre. So I watched Scream 2 2 years later, right? And the thing is, by watching Scream 2 2 years later, I was 10 years old now, and I was immediately smitten, I don't know how to say this word, but I was immediately in love with her in the second movie, because she had a change of look, right? Neve Campbell, the actress, she actually I'm just watching myself in the just watching myself in the live just to check if everything is going well. Sorry, sometimes my attention deviates. But anyway, this is a test, right? This whole live is a test to see if it is really working, if the people will like it. Anyway, Scream 2, I was immediately in love with her because she had a change of look. She had this short hair, her clothes were darker, she wore this leather jacket, and she was more of a dark character in the second movie, especially because of the trauma she got from the first. Sidney Prescott is probably the most traumatized character from the horror franchises, right? And We know there is a backstory of her mother that was killed 1 year before this first story of the first movie, and now she gets attacked by a killer as well. Now we arrived in the scene of the school where we already had the whole uh, Sydney introduction. Billy wants to, have make sweet love with her, but she is not ready yet. And now we are in the school with the introduction of Gail Weathers, played by Courtney Cox. But going back to the whole Neve Campbell love, the you know, seeing her in that hair, and she's, Neve Campbell is always a great actress, and she has this. Sydney actually has this quality of a pure soul, right? And invulnerable girl, but at the same time a strong character, a strong woman. And that got me completely as a kid. I remember watching and going, my God. In fact, I say she's my first crush in life because I never had a real crush in my real life. And once I saw her in Scream 2, I think uh, my first idea, the first thing in my mind was, oh, okay, now I get this whole girl thing. Now I get this whole love boys have for girls. So that is the confirmation that you are in love with someone. And I watched Scream 2 repeated many, many, many times because of specifically because I was so in love with her. And and I still think I have a crush on Sydney or Neve Campbell. I don't know. Because Neve Campbell is so beautiful today. Still she's one of the most beautiful women I ever seen. And her smile is amazing, and she's so incredible, and such a great actress, and she still is a gorgeous woman, and a great character, right? She was not in Scream 6, which I was kind of relieved because I was like, oh, at least this is the first Scream movie that I won't watch with a crush in my mind or my heart beating fast while watching the movie. Uh, Although I have to say that Melissa Barrera is also a lovely, lovely girl. But the thing is that I was kind of relieved she was not in Scream 6. But in Scream 5, she was amazing as well. In all the movies, she's amazing. She's probably my favorite horror final girl, and probably the best one as well. If we are talking in terms of consistency, she's the one. She's the biggest survivor. She's the one who fights back in all the movies. I mean, progressively during the franchise, she was getting stronger and stronger and more willing to fight back the Ghostface. By the time we arrive in Scream 5, she's basically going after the Ghostface instead of the contrary, right? Ghostface doesn't even want to get to her in the Scream 5. And this is the great qualities of this character for me. Now we are getting introduced to all the characters. Billy, I mean, we already know Billy, but Stu, her friend, forgot her name now, the one played by Rose McGowan, and Randy, of course, played by Jamie Kennedy. And again, all these characters are great, although when I was a kid, I always confused who was Randy and who was Stu. I don't know why. They definitely Matthew Lillard, who plays Stu, and Jamie Kennedy, they don't look alike, right? But they are not that different, right? Like Billy is more different in terms of looks than them. But we get a sense of their own personalities. Stu is the clown, although Randy is a clown as well. That was a problem for me. That's why I always confused both of them. I didn't know who was who, because they had kind of a similar personality. Billy's the more cold and sinister one. And then we get the two girls that are very different as well. What is the name of Rose McGowan's character? She is the sister of Dewey, right? The cop. So Anyway, they will say her name later. But now we're back with Sydney back at her house, uh, and she just arrived from school. There is this sense of the afternoon after school where everybody, if you are a kid, a teenager, we just want to sleep and watch TV and sleep in the afternoon after the school time in the morning. And that was always the sense that I got from this movie. And which always begged the question for me. She goes to sleep. She takes a nap in her house. Before that, this is a great scene because she is like doing her laundry or taking her clothes, and we get uh, these false jump scares. She opens the door, she opens something. There's always this sense: is a ghost face gonna come out of her from some corner of her house? Anyway, but she goes to take a nap. And why, if Ghostface actually wanted to kill her, why did he get her then? Which is a very obnoxious question, right? Of someone who doesn't understand horror movies. He wanted to make the whole call and horror movie question, or horror movie trivia thing. But that being said, did Ghostface actually wanted to kill her when he attacks her in a few minutes? I don't know. But there she is. She's going to take a nap. Right now I can talk about a little about the channel. If you are new to the channel, we are with half an hour of live. If you are a fan of the channel, if you know my videos by now, or if you don't know yet the channel, please consider to subscribe. Here in Trashin with Gus, we talk about horror movies, action movies, we talk about animes, animations. This is a new category of videos, lives, watch-alongs of many movies. I am a horror movie freak. If you can see my t-shirt, let me show you here. I have Friday the 13th, Evil Dead. This one is Poltergeist, and you can maybe see it very well. Halloween, Psycho, and here we have many more. We have The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Carrie, Shining. Here I won't stand up because my microphone may pull the camera away. Have Hellraiser, Suspiria. Great movie, by the way. I watched it recently. I never watched it before. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Thing, and Child's Play. All this in my t-shirt. And I hope I can show you soon this t-shirt in other videos. But we don't have screen here, right? That's ironic. A great way to start a live, right? By watching a movie that is not on the t-shirt. But anyway, so this is a channel that I do this. My last video was about the best horror sequels of all time, in my opinion. You can watch it right here on the channel. It is still slow. The views are slow. Please go watch it. Help the channel to grow up and become for the algorithm to spread the video for other people. But in this video that I talk about the best horror sequels, spoiler alert, Scream 2 is not in there. Although I like Scream 2 very much. I like all the Scream movies. Not in the same category. We can do a ranking later during the watch along. But I do like Scream 2. When I was a kid, again, like I said, it used to be my favorite because Sidney Prescott, Neve Campbell. But in that video, I talk about other great sequels that I think are the best ones. Not necessarily the most classic or cinema, considered best sequels, but for me they are. But anyway. And there are many other videos with horror content, with action content, anime content, if you like Japanese animation. And what else can I say about this channel? We are still beginning. I've just started the channel in December. But I'm very happy with the views and the subscribers. I mean, we are still a little group, but it will get better with time. And I am very happy with your support, right? The support of the viewers and all the people. So, and talking about support, as you can see, it's a very small channel. We still don't have we still don't have great equipment to do, for example, these lives or to make better videos. So if you can, I urge you and I ask for your kind help to subscribe to my Patreon page that is right down here on this on the description of this live right now in the video. And there you can support the channel with three categories, right? With a category with a little value, then a little more, and then a little more. In each category we have different perks and rewards. First one, you can have your names at the end of each of my videos and get your name immortalized in Trashing with Gus. Second one, you have your name at the end of my videos, and also you can receive each of my videos before everybody else, which is a great thing as well. And in the third category, which is my favorite one because I can also show you other work that I do, I have you can have your name at the end of the videos, you can receive my videos before, and you can receive my first ebook, my first novel in form of ebook, The Angel of Fire and Steel, a great epic adventure that mixtures sci-fi with science fiction, a lot of action, and especially a lot of mythology regarding angels and demons. I will show you the cover of the book in a few minutes. Right now, let me go back to the movie because Sidney is just getting attacked by the ghost face, right? And she is calling the cops by her computer, which is something that is very interesting. It's almost like a WhatsApp at the 90s. And that's very interesting. And then Billy arrives at her window right after the ghost face disappears, and she gets suspicious about that because he just showed up minutes, in fact seconds, after Ghostface vanished. What a weird thing. So, as I was saying, you can get these perks. And the third one, like I said, my book, if you will receive my book, my novel, The Angel of Fire and Steel, for free. Exactly. So if you subscribe to the Patreon in the third category, you will receive your name at the end of the videos before everybody else, and my ebook for free. Let me show you the cover of the book. Here it is. I don't know if you will be able to see it very well. Oh no, there is a light right in front. Let me see if I can do something here to improve. Oh no, that's not good. You cannot see it very well. See, I need a better camera for my videos. A camera that can capture these things better. Well, no problem. You will be able to see the cover in my normal videos. And in the one that I told you about the ranking of the best sequels, there is the cover of obviously better quality for you to see. But the story of the book, I will try not to diverge so much from the movie because right now Sidney is just getting to the hospital, right? Or getting to the precinct actually, to be questioned about the attack. So we don't have so much that we can talk about, but I can talk about the story of my book. It's about a angel that is kidnapped from paradise. And she is kidnapped by a very demonic tree in the celestial gardens. She is dragged to hell. Her soul, her spirit is dragged to hell. And, I mean, in a sense, her body as well. because she has this celestial light, she's an angel, she has a power inside her that can be used to power a whole civilization. And what civilization her power will, her force, her energy will power? Hell. A community with millions of demons and living in almost the same kind of groups and civilization style as us humans, right? In houses, they work in factories. We have the whole, how can I say, the whole structure of rich and poor demons. So it's a kind of reflection of our own society, but in hell. And her body is trapped inside a machine that powers this whole civilization. And that is basically the demons, they drag her energy for their own purposes, right? But inside the civilization, we have one demon called Riser. And this demon is the only demon that will have the will to want to save her and to help her get free and return her to the paradise. And for that, he will have to come up with a plan that will pit him against his own kind of demons, because this is hell. Most of the demons in this society are greedy and evil, right? But not Riser. Riser will be the one who will step up, see how the whole thing is wrong, and the whole civilization is based on something that is cruel, using her body, her soul to power the whole thing. And he will be the only one to step up to do the right thing, that is to save her. But by doing that, there is an issue. By doing that, he will also destroy his own civilization. He will also prevent hell from having her energy. And that is a kind of a choice that he has to make. Will he save her and do the right thing to return her to her home, the paradise, right? And destroy his own civilization, or not? It's a great adventure, a lot of action, a lot of cyberpunk technology. It's great. Probably the most badass book you will read this year. So, please, if you want, subscribe to the Patreon, help the channel to grow up, to get more equipment, to get a better quality for the videos for you guys, and to help me continue my this endeavor of being a book writer. Because in January you will receive The Angel of Fire and Steel for free. In February you will receive my second book. I will try to show the cover for you guys in my cell phone, but because this one I think is better to see. But let me see. I think you can see, maybe you can see better this one. No, again, it's not so good. But anyway, my second book is The Letters for Mr. Solitude, which is a other kind of fantasy, more light and with a lot more heart, in a more Tim Burton vein of movie. I think my cat wants to leave the room. Let me just help her by opening the door. And there she goes. In February, you will receive this book for free. In March, you will receive a third book that I am producing called, I won't say right now because I am still writing it, but it will be a great book that will be more in tone with our our taste here in the channel. That is a horror book, and is a book that has my creation from my other channel, Joe Ripper. If you don't know who is Joe Ripper, please check the links of my other channels here in my channel, Trashin with Gus. You will see that I have an animations channel of some animations that I produce using the most basic resources like paper, scissors, cutouts, editing, my voice, dubbing the characters. And my main character in these animations is Joe Ripper, a horror slasher that is a death ripper who lives inside the imagination of a little girl called Angelina. And there are many episodes in this channel of his character, of their adventures together, their sinister adventures together. Let me just set the light here to light my face better. There you go. Yes, if you can, subscribe to that channel as well. Help me to keep these endeavors of creating stories and being a writer. And the third book will be about Joe Ripper. It will be a Joe Ripper book, probably my best work in my opinion. I am having lots of fun by writing it, and you will receive that book for free in March. From April on, you will receive other perks of the channel, probably other books or comic books that I will be doing at the time, and also for free. So if you can help me with the Patreon, I will be eternally grateful, especially because you will be helping the channel to grow, and you will receive my work as a writer, which is my main, or at least I like to consider my main profession in this world, and the one that I really want to keep evolving and keep going into. You will receive all my works for free, and that is, the pleasure is mine to share that with the world. All right, here in the description, guys. But anyway, let's go back to the movie. We lost a lot of things. Well, we've just been through the whole precinct scene. Sydney is suspicious of her boyfriend, Billy, right? Still is suspicious. She just met with Gail, the reporter, at the exit of the precinct and just punched her in the face or slapped her. I think she punches her in this movie, right? She slaps her in the second one. By this time, Gail and Sydney are not friends at all. And now she's in Dewey's house. Dewey, our favorite cop from any horror franchise, played by David Arquette. And he, because, you know, Rose McGowan's character that I still don't remember her name. She's the sister of Dewey, right? So they are helping Sydney to stay in her house and have company instead of being alone in her own. So the movie is very, one of the things that I love about Scream is that the plot is very fast, right? It doesn't waste time with the whole it doesn't have gaps in the story. The plot just moves, right? Right now, Sydney is talking with Gail outside her school, and they talk in this manner that they know each other because they have a backstory, these two characters, especially because of the death of Sydney's mother that happened 1 year before the events of this movie. And this is something that I really, really like about this story, is that it doesn't waste time by showing a flashback or something that reveals the whole murder of Sydney's mother. They just make the exposition of the scene, explaining this backstory in their dialogue right now. So Sydney and Gail, by talking to each other, and then you see that there is this rivalry because Gail is a very cruel reporter, should we say. I mean, she's a woman that she just wants the scoop, right? She's running for the scoop all the time. She really took advantage of the whole murder of Sydney, so that's why Sydney hates her. And by doing that, they have this rivalry, and right now in their conversation there is this the whole exposition of what happened, and that was not mentioned before, at least not clearly. So when they mention this, we start to get a sense of the whole story of the movie better, right? We understand better who is this character Sydney, what she has been going through, and what is happening in her life, and what kind of connection she might have with these attacks. Because somebody killed her mother, but was not, at least people don't know, It's not Ghostface. She accused another guy called Cotton Weary, played by Liev Schreiber. And he shows up in the TV news very quickly, right? And we get a sense of the whole murder thing. But she doesn't know exactly if it was him that actually killed her mother. She accused him because Cotton Weary was her lover, the mother's lover, right? Apparently her mother was very promiscuous, should I say? And she had a lot of relationships outside the marriage, especially, and she cheated on her father a lot. And she one of her lovers was Cotton Weary, so Sidney puts the blame on him because she hated him, right? After all, he was the lover. But she doesn't know. She doesn't know if it was him that killed her mother. She saw somebody in the night. That's what Gail says. She saw somebody in the night her mother was killed, somebody leaving her house in a jacket. But she doesn't know. She doesn't actually know if it was really Cotton. She saw from afar. And this guy looked like Cotton. And that's a great point of the movie because Cotton Weary, Liev Schreiber, who, now he's a very famous actor, but in this movie he just showed up for a second, for a blip, in the whole TV news thing, being escorted by the cops into a police car. Liev Schreiber, in this movie, he in the few seconds that he shows up, he has this little hair, a little long hair with this, I don't know how to say, not bangs, this part of English vocabulary, I don't know. But he has these hairs that come here on the eyes, just like Billy Loomis, right? And that's a great touch of the script, or the direction, should I say, the department of the movie, the creation department, that if by far he might have looked like Cotton Weary. If you see a guy from afar with this kind of hair, with this hairstyle, it might look like Cotton Weary, but was not. It was Billy Loomis who killed her mother. Great touch from the script, great touch from the whole production. And now we have probably one of the most expendable scenes in the movie. That is the Principal Leary. You see, I remember the name of the principal, but I don't remember the name of Rose McGowan's character. What can I say? And he's, scolding these two students who just pranked Sidney with the ghost face suit in the school. And now is not the scene that he will be killed yet. We still have another expendable scene that is Sidney going to the bathroom of the school, and she hears these girls talking about her. They are talking bad things about her. Let me just check my battery to see we're okay. And she's gonna be attacked by Ghostface in the bathroom. This time not a prank, a real Ghostface. But this is the thing. Why Ghostface is in this bathroom? That's why I say this scene is expendable. Why is he doing this bathroom? How did he knew that she was going to be there at this exact moment? So, yeah, I kind of go back into the whole plot being fast. And there are some expendable scenes that don't exactly add to the movie. Although, in this scene, the girls that talk about her, the kind of, how can I say this word without being, it rhymes with witchy, witchy girls, they, but starts with B, of course. They're talking about her, and they're talking about the fact that they have this theory that Sidney is actually the ones behind these murders. She went crazy because of the death of her mother. So, yeah, maybe it adds a little bit to the plot in the sense of the whole what's the impression people have of this girl in the school of Sydney, right? So yeah, okay, I give it that for this scene. But the whole lyric principal thing, I don't know, man. I don't know why they killed him. I guess because he was, what is the name of his character in Happy Days? Fonzie or Fonzo? I don't know. I never watched Happy Days. It's not something here in Brazil. So Fonz, is that the name of the guy? The ones who jumps the shark, right? Uh, and I mean, was the director? I mean, was the principal director? Sorry, we say director here in Brazil. That's the how we call principals, directors. But you know, the directors are for movies. Is that how? I mean, was that guy a threat for the killers in this movie? I don't think so. So why did they kill him? It was just a body count waste. Although it's a good scene, it's not really suspenseful or interesting enough. It's just they killed the guy. So anyway, we do have, but I like the fact that before the scene we have this whole school environment scenes. Now we're seeing Dewey talking with Gay Weathers probably for the first time, and we know that they are the main couple of the Scream franchise, and we get the whole sense of this school environment, this school setting by these scenes with the young people leaving the school. It really looks like a high school, right? I mean, it's probably the place is probably a high school in Woodsboro, but it really looks like a high school that is similar to the ones in my country as well. And you get a lot of the sense of this school setting with these scenes, and I really love Scream for that. Also, because we had two murders now, the classes were suspended, and the kids can go home, and we get this celebration that is very, you know, it's a very kids thing, right? We always celebrated when we had classes suspended in our schools. So anyway, I think now we can talk about, since there is this whole flirtatious scene between Dewey and Gale, we can talk about my ranking for the Scream franchise, I guess. Although this can catch me a little off guard because I didn't think about this ranking before. But we can do it now. Let's see. Obviously, Scream is the first one. The first movie is impossible to be surpassed by any other movie in the franchise. It's the most iconic. Is the one that sets the whole thing. Is the one that resurrected the whole horror teen franchise in the 90s, right? Because in the 90s we had this little, I mean, I'm not sure. I think horror movies were not as popular in the 90s as they were before, in the 80s, in the 70s. So in this time, the action movies were more, you know, more popular. People were going to watch more horror movies. So Scream was the one that everybody says that resurrected this whole genre of film. And I can agree with that, although as I was very young, I couldn't say exactly if that was the case, but it is famous for that thing, right? For having for having resurrected the whole horror slasher franchise thing. We got I Know What You Did the Last Summer, the year later, we got Urban Legend, we got all these other ones that follow the same kind of formula of Scream with the horror teen thing, and I loved it as a young guy, you know, as a kid probably, 10, 11 years old. I dug the whole thing. I remember every new horror teen movie that was in the video store, VHS at the time, with the cover that has all those teenagers, you know, beautiful, gorgeous teenagers in poses in front of the, you know, on the covers. with their faces in dark. At least all those covers had the same style. I dug the whole thing. I loved it. I went to the video store every weekend to devour these kinds of movies. There was also another one that I loved called The Faculty with Josh Hartnett and Elijah Wood. Great movie. And yeah, Scream was the one that resurrected the whole thing, brought it back to the popular knowledge, and I think that yeah, well, that's true, right? It's I'm sorry, I'm watching the scene now that the principal Hambry is gonna get killed. So I'm trying to talk to you guys and focus on the scene. Right now, Ghostface got him. And it's a very funny scene because the principal just checks the hallways. He checks the principal, he checks his own office, and he sees a guy sweeping the floor outside, right, in the hallway. That is, people say, trivia time, that was Wes Craven dressed as the guy who was sweeping the floor. And ironically enough, he is wearing a Freddy Krueger t-shirt, right, with the red and green stripes. And so it's a very funny scene. Again, I don't know why they killed him. Why they killed Hembry? What was the point? But it's a fun scene anyway. Anyway, my ranking. Scream is the most iconic one. Is the one that had a different formula, right? That it just had this whole mystery, whodunit thing. That although there were movies in the past that had this kind of dynamic, Scream brought this to the horror slashers. Kevin Williamson, who wrote the first movie, he just had a genius idea to put these teenagers in this plot of one of them is the killer. Who is it? And that gets us as the audience also immersed in the plot, because we are also trying to guess during the movie who is the killer, and we have our own suspicions. Who is the killer? We think maybe it's the Sidney's best friend, or Randy, who is the freak guy on the video store, or I don't know, can be Billy Loomis, although he might seem like a how do you say, red herring at this time, at this point of the movie, because it would be too obvious if it was him. Spoiler alert, it is him, but at this point we think those are false suspicions. So all this dynamic is very, very, very interesting and very fun. Even with the next movies, the sequels, we always get the same dynamic that, at least I always get very nervous at the end of the movie when the reveal of the killer is about to happen. I always get, oh my God, who is it? Is this person? Is that person? We try to create a logic in our minds, thinking, if that person was here, or in that scene, this person wasn't there, maybe he or she is the killer, because he was not there at the moment the Ghostface attacked. We try to create the logic in our minds, and it's always amazing when the reveal happens, right, in each of these movies, because the tension goes away, of course, when the killer is revealed. But until that point, the movie, independently of the quality of the movie, it always gets us totally focused on what's happening. And right now we have a scene where Randy and Stu are talking in the video store. And they, again, I always got confused. Who is who? Now I know Randy is the one who is in love with Sidney, and so I totally identify with him. But anyway, ranking. Scream is the first one. I already said everything I had to say about it. The second one, should I go decreasing order or no? I think I will go from the worst to the best. So we already know the best is Scream 1. No spoiler about that. The worst one for me, probably Scream 3 or Scream 6. I was not a huge fan of Scream 6, although I didn't hate the movie. I liked the movie. I thought it was fun. and it had all these things that I said for you right now about the whole suspense of who is the killer. Who, I was very tense at the cinema. Oh my God, who is gonna be the killer? And in the end, spoiler alert, it is revealed that are three killers, three Ghostface killers. But I had a lot of fun, but I don't know. There's something about the whole New York setting, or I don't know. It wasn't my favorite one, and so Scream 3 or Scream 6 are probably in the last place for me. I guess I will go with Scream 3. I think Scream 3 is the one I will put there because Scream 3, although I had a great nostalgia for it because it was the only one that I watched at the movies when I was a kid, of course. Uh, oh my God, there's so many bad things about that movie. There's so many bad things about that movie. It's not scary at all. The whole suspense thing was completely thrown out of the window. The whole Hollywood setting is too much parody. Too much parody for me. Like there were too many jokes about the franchise Scream itself, and other horror movies. There's even a Kevin Smith, a Silent Bob cameo in the movie, and I mean, Scream 3 is just fun, but again, not very good and not very suspenseful as the other ones. And but I do have a great nostalgia for it. I do. I remember watching it a lot as well because, again, Sydney and Neve Campbell. So Scream 3 is the last one. Scream 6 then is the fifth one for me, right? Scream 6. I don't know if I'm being unfair with Scream 6. Now that I'm thinking better about the movie, there are many things I liked. I liked the intro of the movie. I thought it was very clever what they did with the whole false ghost face guy and the reveal right away in the beginning. That was interesting. That was a good, it was not a bad script for a movie that was written in 1 year, because Scream 5 was a huge success, so they went right into it for Scream 6. I don't know if they had an idea already or if they already wrote a script, but it was not a bad script to be written in such a hurry. There were a lot of clever ideas with it. I guess because it doesn't have Sydney is the problem. But again, I didn't miss Sydney in this one. I think I know one problem with the movie. I didn't think the character Gail was very well used. After Dewey died in Scream 5, spoiler alert, her character became kind of irrelevant for the story. Because our identification, our relation with this character, especially Dewey and Gail, was because when they were together, they were fun. Their dynamic was fun. And in all the movies, they had this different dynamic. In the first one, they get to meet each other. The second one, they get to really get together. Third one, they had this broke up, but they go back and actually get married at the end. Number 4, they are this very old couple now. And 5, they are divorced. So there is this very interesting, realistic progression of character between them two. So I didn't like her in the movie. I thought there is this other character of Kirby. There was in Scream 4. There is this, now she's a detective that has a lot of knowledge in horror movies and all this stuff. I thought bringing them two in the same movie didn't really fit. I thought, or you have one of them or you have the other one. Them two together, I don't know. I thought it was overstuffed, the movie, with this kind of characters that help the main characters with the investigation and all these things. So now we got to the party, the great climax of the movie, which is actually a great climax, right? I mean, when I mean great, I mean a huge climax, because it starts at 1 hour of movie, probably less than 1 hour, I guess. No, 1 hour, right? I'm looking now to my live. I started 10 minutes early, so 1 hour of movie flat. The party scene that the whole climax take place starts, and it doesn't leave us until the end. So is a great, again great movie because of this progression of the events. So Screen 6 is there. I didn't like this thing in the. It also had some deaths that I didn't understand. The whole shrink of the character of Melissa Barrera, Sam, getting killed. I guess the murderer needed some files on her, but who cares about that guy? Why he was important and was killed in such a unmemorable way as well. Uh, the New York setting, was okay, but didn't really change anything for me in the plot. So, yeah, I guess it's missing something. I guess it's missing the Dewey and Gale chemistry in the sixth one. I thought what they did in the Screen 5 by killing Dewey was very brave, courageous, and I think it was necessary, even though it broke my heart. Having a character to live for 5 movies and then suddenly die is, I don't like this kind of things usually, but I thought, it was necessary for the character. But then you remove the main thing about Gale as well when you remove him. So Screen 6 is there. Screen in the fourth place we have Screen. I hope you're not listening my cat meow. It's my other cat now that is meowing here. Let me see. Screen 4? No, Screen 4 is nice actually. Screen 4 is very nice. I would say Screen... So I had Screen 3, Screen 6, Screen 5. Okay, Screen 5 I think should be the fourth place. Because Screen 5, although it was great to have a revival in this series again. It was great to see those characters. I thought it was too gimmicky in the sense of bringing the nostalgia of the first movie back. Especially with the whole plot of Billy Loomis being the father of Sam. I do like that. I do think it's interesting. It connects the new characters with the previous generation. That's very interesting. That's very nice. But the whole Ghosts Billy didn't make much sense for me. I mean, why does she has a memory of him? Because she never actually met him, right? As we know, Billy probably, had some relations with other girls in the school by the time of this one, and Tatum. Finally, sorry. I finally know the name of Rose McGowan's character, Tatum. She is. You probably were screaming her name during the whole live, right? And I couldn't listen to you, but Tatum. She's the sister of Dewey. Now we are in her scene where she's getting some beers in the garage, the classic scene of the door, right, where she's gonna get caught by the ghost face. So let me just comment this scene before going back to my ranking. And thankful enough, no, I'm very thankful that she herself said her name now. When she saw a cat, right, walking under the door, going to the cat's door, and she got scared and she said, "Okay, Tatum, that's fine." And that's how I finally remembered her name. Thank you, Tatum. Thank you for remembering me. And now she is having her face off with Casper, or should I say Ghostface, as she called him Casper, and she's realizing the whole thing is real. And this is a great scene because, and probably one of the most iconic scenes in terms of Ghostface being a goof, right? Because she just knocks him. She not knocks him, but she just kicks his ass, right? with the beer bottles on his balls, and throwing beer bottles on his face, and then knocking him with the door of the refrigerator. And but unfortunately, she wasn't very clever when she tried to get out through the cat's door, and now she's being raised up to the ceiling, and bang, she's dead. One of the most memorable. See, you can even see the light of the whole electric shock here on my room, right? So you know this is the scene we are watching now. Uh, the sparks and everything. Again, very iconic scene. Probably one of I would say this is the most iconic death of the whole franchise. Tatum's death on the garage. Is there another one that we can consider? Because most of the deaths in Scream franchise are basically knife stabs, right? And if you're looking for gore, there's certainly some scenes in each of the movies that go a little far into the gore, but not many. Basically, they are cruel and, you know, brutal stabs, and I love that. By the way, I'm not complaining. Uh, I love the noise of the stabs, especially when you're watching the movie theater. The whole and stabbing the meats is really good. But most of the deaths are stabs, right? And usually in each of the movies we get one or two that are more sophisticated or a little more cruel in terms of gore. So now I can go back to the whole ranking. Right now, Gail is watching the kids through the camera she placed inside the house, and realizing there is a delay, which plays later in a very clever way in another scene. But so where was I? Screen 5 in number 4, right? I think it played too much into the whole nostalgia thing, going back to Stu's house in the end of the movie. I don't know why was that necessary. What else? The killers in the movie and their whole motive were okay. It made sense for our generation, especially with the whole recall, not prequel, recall, uh, recall thing that we have now in movies, right? Where we have all these movies that ignore this, should I say, sequels that ignore all the previous movies in a franchise just to connect with the first original one. Halloween did that. Many other movies did that, and now and Scream did do that, but Scream 5 was supposed to be this kind of movie that connects all the first one, and the other ones are not that important to it. It did a nice job. It was very clever, but again, I don't know. Something about those killers I didn't care too much about. And the whole Tara thing in the beginning, the whole intro was not that memorable for me, Jen Ortega. And the deaths, there is this death of this kid who has a yellow hair, and he's kind of a famous actor, young actor, but I don't remember his name. Which he gets murdered. He and his mother get murdered. His mother was a character in other movies. He gets murdered. Very weak, in my opinion. So yeah, good movie, fun, as all the Scream movies, but not my favorite one. So Scream 5 and 4. In third place, we can go to Scream 2. I think Scream 2, solid entry. There are some scenes that don't make any sense in that movie in terms of geography. I would say Jamie, but not Jamie. I mean, Jamie is the actor, but Randy's death in broad daylight in that van just never made sense for me. How did the Ghostface enter in that van without anybody seeing him in the middle of a campus? A camp in the university, and in broad daylight, how did he get into that van? I don't know. How did he know that Randy was going to lean on the van and he could actually take him to the van and kill Randy? I don't know. The whole car chase. There is a car chase in Scream 2. Not a car chase, but a car scene where Ghostface drives the car with Sidney in the back and another girl, and they knock a lot of things on the street. It's a cool scene, but Ghostface gets knocked out when the car crashes, and they don't even bother to remove his mask. Why not? They leave the car, but they don't remove his mask. Why? Oh, Jesus. And then they leave the car, and then Ghostface just shows up out of nowhere. There was no way he could got out of that car and got Sidney's friend the way he did. I'll probably talk about this more when we watch Scream 2. But that's the negative. The positive is that first of all, first time I saw my crush, so a big nostalgia factor for me. I like the whole university setting. I like, I don't know, what else do I like? Yes, I like the whole setting of the movie. I like the whole, I like they brought some of the characters back. I like Sidney and Gail's chemistry in that movie. The killers at the end, not a huge fan, but again, after the first movie, there's not much they can do to really connect the killers with Sidney. But I do like Timothy Olyphant as an actor, and he did a kind of a fun job in that movie. So Scream 2, especially by the nostalgia factor, goes in third one, and then Scream 4 in the second place. I think I really like Scream 4 because it really, again, it took advantage of the whole remake vibe that we were having at the time with the whole, all horror movies were having remakes. They introduced a great character that is the Kirby character. I love that character. I thought she was amazing, and she should have been in Scream 5. And thankfully they brought her back in Scream 6 because she, who is the actress? Hayden Panettiere, right? She's amazing. I love that actress, and I love her character actually. But the actress is great as well. And she played, she was kind of iconic in Scream 4, especially by her knowledge in horror movies. And it brought back to a more small town vibe with the whole Woodsboro thing, in comparison with the third one that was, huge because of the whole Hollywood setting. So it brought back to something more recognizable and more fun in terms of simplicity, right? And then, what else I like about that movie, can I say? Some of the characters are copies of the characters in the first movie. I thought it was, but I think the reason of the killer in that movie, who is played by Emma Roberts, and the other guy, the cocaine guy, was a good one actually. Was kind of interesting. They wanted to be, at least she wanted to be famous for something. She wanted to be more famous than Sidney, that was her cousin. And she wanted to take advantage of the whole murder spree, the Ghostface murder spree, the fame that her cousin had, to make her own fame. And that was interesting because it really has something, it has a lot actually to do with things that happen today, with people lying and creating stories on the internet and creating this whole illusions just to be famous. So that was a great reason that kind of preceded this whole craziness right now that we have with social medias and people trying to be famous at any cost and come up with these lies and, sometimes doing these criminal things. And looking back at the reason that she had in that movie and the other kid too, great reason, great motif for a killer to be a ghost face killer. I really, really liked that. And it kind of worked, right? It kind of worked in that movie. She almost became famous. Although, in the end, we have a good scene in the hospital where Sidney, step up and beat her cousin, which I thought she shouldn't have died. I would like her to come back. The character, I don't remember her name now. Jill, I think is that. Jill, I would like to see that character back in other movies later. But anyway, that's my ranking of the Scream franchise. Right now, we're still in the party. Sidney and Gail are walking on the road. The kids, they are speeding their cars because they just received the news that Principal Henry got murdered in the school, and his corpse is hanging there on the courtyard or in the basketball court. And we have the first kiss of Gail and Sidney. We just had the whole sex scene between Sidney and Billy. A scene that I don't like. Of course, I hate that scene. But we just had that scene, and it establishes a very interesting thing, that Sidney is not a virgin anymore. And usually in these movies, the final girl is a virgin. Always. That's the rule. That's what Randy mentioned, right? That's one of the main rules of horror movies. And probably the biggest rule, right? Actually, it's the first rule. You cannot have sex because you will get killed. Then by having sex, she's not a virgin anymore, and that breaks the rules, which kind of puts this suspicion from us, the audience, if she's gonna make it at the end, right? Because we just had a character establishing that final girl's virgin, and in order to with that, that's a great plot point that the movie puts on the audience, should I say. Is she gonna make it now? Because now she's not. She's not a virgin anymore. And we have this, we still having Billy under suspicion, we still having her under suspicion, and that's a great thing. Right now, Billy and her are talking, there is still this mystery. In some seconds from now, we will have this very interesting thing again, this plot twist that the movie has, because apparently Billy gets killed in front of us, right? So when they are about to leave the room, the ghost face and it's great because the character Billy, he plays with us all the time, right? He has this thing, he has this face of a murder, and when he talks to her, you really feel like this guy, there's something wrong with this guy. He's not a normal guy. So he still can be the killer. But then Ghostface comes and right now murders him. At least that's what we think. And that puts us in a tough spot as an audience again, because now our main suspect is gone. So who is the killer? Again, very clever of the script. Very, very clever. We still have some suspects to guess, but not many. Because I think, for example, Gale and Dewey, they are in the forest. They cannot be the killers. Plus, this is very clever of the scene as well, because the house, Stu's house is huge. And we had all these rooms that connect to each other, and Sidney starts to run through them, and suddenly she ends up in the room again, and there is another killer, another Ghostface that we didn't know that was a case, right? We thought it was just one guy. In this scene it becomes very clear there are two guys helping each other. I remember very clearly when I was a kid, one of my cousins watching the scene, and she's running through these rooms, and then all of a sudden she stumbles into another Ghostface. My cousin went, "What? How many guys are in this movie?" You know, I remember very clearly this sense of frustration of my cousin going, "What the hell is happening?" And then it is established that we have two guys now, which is something it didn't happen before. But anyway, we don't have many suspects now. Sidney and Gail, probably not. We still have Randy and Stu, right? They are the ones that are the suspicions is mostly on them now. And we have this great scene where Sidney falls from the window on the second floor, and she falls into the bolt on the garage, and it's a great stunt scene, very good, and it's great because not only she falls into the boat, but she also sees the body of Tatum on the garage. So very clever way to connect all these events. And then we have another iconic scene with the whole delay in the camera because Randy is watching the movie, and then again, it's not Randy because he's watching the movie and the ghost face is right behind him. Why would he be a ghost face if there is a guy, a ghost face is actually almost murdering him behind? It doesn't make sense, right? So again, Randy is not a suspect anymore. And then we have this delay on the camera because the camera that Gail placed on the party is filming everything with a delay. And once Sidney goes back to the van with the guy, the camera guy who helps Gail, they are watching the events in the room through the camera, but we are seeing these images with a delay. So when Ghostface leaves the house in the video, he's not, I mean, this is not happening in real time. So this is a very clever way of actually placing Ghostface in the van, right? Because once the guy leaves the van, Ghostface just slashes his throat right away. And, you know, they didn't even think about it. It's a very clever way for a jump scare because they didn't think about the fact that Ghostface was not in the house anymore. He was not leaving the house at that time. He was already way far from the house because of the delay in the images. And then we're gonna have this chase going through the movie. Dewey and Gail going back to the house, and I think that's why I say this is a great script from Kevin Williamson because in these kinds of events that you have multiple characters in one location going through the rooms and the places around the house, how you connect all these characters, or you actually separate them so they don't meet each other, and they don't have these you know, you actually make sense of the whole geography or where each character is in the moment. You have to be very clever as a screenwriter because you don't have a map to decide these things, right? You have to really imagine the scenes in your head and think, okay, so now if this character was at the forest before, so Sidney has to leave the house now, and in order for this character to come back, which is Dewey at the moment, in order for this character to come back to the house, I need to make her leave, or the ghost face that was chasing her had to be in another place, and there is a second ghost face. You see, there is a logic to the whole geography of the thing that you have to be very clever as a screenwriter to decide, especially in the climax, where how you're gonna make this whole twist of characters interconnect and meet or not meet. Anyway, it's very, very interesting. Randy, for example, Randy shows up beside the van of Gail and gives her a jump scare, and she knocks him out with the telephone. Where was he after the scene we saw him watching Halloween in the house and Ghostface almost killed him? That's another thing that the guy has to think about, because we have probably 6 or 7 characters now that needs to be you know, placed in individual places in the whole scenario. I never noticed something. Now I'm talking about the scene that Gail is driving her van and she just saw the body of of her cameraman, of her camera guy, and now she's driving because she's scared. after she knocked Randy out, she starts to make a U-turn to drive the van towards the forest. I never noticed that Randy was just getting he was just getting up after being knocked out by her when she makes the U-turn. And very again, they didn't forget that Randy was there. So great direction from Wes Craven here. And now Sidney goes back to the house. She sees Dewey that was inside the house with a knife in his back. And now we need to have another chase with Sidney and the ghost face. It's great. It's just perfect. And by this time in the movie this is where the moment of the movie that your adrenaline just kicks in, because the elements are piling up in such a smooth and very clever way that the whole experience just becomes better and better with this ending. And she gets trapped inside the car, and Ghostface puts the key on the window, showing to her. It's just beautiful, beautifully crafted ending. And the adrenaline is just getting higher and higher until the eventual climax. I mentioned Wes Craven now, and unfortunately our iconic Wes Craven is deceased. I think he died in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But he left us some great works, right? Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, which I will watch in a watch along here in the channel. His first movie is also a classic, Last House on the Left. What is the name? Now I'm blanking on the name of the one with the cannibals in the desert. What's the name? Oh Jesus, I have to check. But anyway, now we have the scene where Randy and Stu are blaming each other in front of Sidney for her to confuse her and for her to help the wrong guy, right? They are pointing fingers at each other. It's just a great scene and very funny. I remember it always got me and my cousins and my brother. We always laughed at the scene of how very clever and very fun it was. They pointing fingers at each other. It's him. He is the murderer. He's the guy. Just great. And then Billy returns, and now our suspicions are back. Our suspicions are back on this guy because he's back. He's alive. So he got stabbed many times to be alive, right? Why is he alive? And at this point of the franchise, things were a little more realistic in terms of stabs in the movie. I think there's not a kill in this movie that is too far-fetched that we go, how did this person survive? But once the franchise started to go on with the sequels, there were more and more bizarre and impossible kills that people actually survived, right? Especially in Scream 6, if you watched, I think you know the one that I mean, that there's no way that guy would be alive at the end of the movie. The Hills Have Eyes, there you go. So now we have the revelation here. Sorry, I sometimes I have to keep going back and forth, but Billy and Stu are the killers. They just revealed themselves to Sidney, and now we have the whole exposition scene with the killers revealing their motives. We all know about the whole Billy is the son of one of the lovers of Sidney's mom. I just kicked the camera, almost ruined the life. But anyway, he was the son of one of the lovers of Sidney's mother, and because his parents divorced, and she was the one that caused that, he decided to kill her. And because he was also a horror movie freak, he decided to do that in style of the horror slasher movies. And but that's the point. Why Sydney? What's the deal with Sydney? Why is she to blame for all this? Well, psychopaths, right? What can you say about them? But talking about Wes Craven, just going back a little, because now we have the whole exposition scene, and Sydney is just so scared. She's so vulnerable in this scene. I love her, and I love her performance. Nat Campbell is just a great actress, and as young as she was in this movie, she was just amazing. Um, and I know I'm saying this because I'm also in love with her. But Wes Craven, man, The Last House on the Left was his first movie, and very, he was a very, how can I say this? Sometimes I mix Portuguese with English, but it was a movie that shocked a lot of people at the time because of its violence and its uh, cruelty, and how rough things are in that movie, because it's almost like that movie that the guys get lost in the forest and some other guys get them and torture them, and Deliverance, right? Deliverance, not torture them, but do some things with them that I cannot say in the live, because in YouTube I cannot say this word, but the word with R, that it's a very traumatic movie, right? Because it deals with, this very bizarre and strange society that lives in the forest, and those guys get caught and all these things. And The Last House on the Left is this kind of movie where, you know there are this family of murderers in the forest that unfortunately uh, kills one of the daughters of another family that are spending some time in a farmhouse. And this family of the girl who was murdered, they go after revenge with the family of murders. And I never actually watched that movie, but I did see some scenes, and I don't know exactly about the whole shocking thing, the whole violence thing, but it was a movie that definitely was known for this at the time. And then Wes Craven was considered a master of horror because with these movies, he always brought the horror back to the to the people's knowledge and to the mainstream, right? With this movie, and then years later with The Hills Have Eyes, which is another shocking movie for the time. I mean, it deals with something a little more far-fetched, that is mutants on the desert that, again, uh, attack a family that is spending vacations in the desert, or not spending vacations on the desert, but they are trapped in the desert, and they attack this family. They do it in very cruel ways. And then this was in the 70s. In the 80s, he came with this amazing, how can I say, this amazing idea for a movie with dealing with nightmares. One of the most incredible and, I mean, pure genius ideas, that is to have a murderer, a slasher that attacks you in your nightmares. How cool is that, right? To have this kind of idea in the 80s and make that into a movie. And then he brought back the horror, or at least, again, created a classic and iconic franchise with the Nightmare on Elm Street, that certainly puts the whole horror slasher franchise in the mainstream and in the pop culture, and in the whole, especially in the pop culture zeitgeist, with the whole Freddy thing, right? For being a child murder in those movies, in his backstory, he became a iconic figure that is something very strange and bizarre to think about. But again, Wes Craven did that in the 80s, and then in the 90s he did it again with Scream, and that's why he's the master of horror, right? He was, but he still is. Uh, and there are many other movies of him. I still need to watch some of his filmography. I still haven't watched Shocker or The People Under the Stairs and some of the other movies that he has done that are very people talk about it in the horror community discussions, and I really want to watch. I did watch Swamp Thing. For those who don't know, he did direct a superhero movie in his career, Swamp Thing, in the 80s as well. And it's fun. It's fun trash, you know, and it kind of cements the idea that he, although most of his movies were horror movies, he was very prolific in the different kinds of styles in each of his movies, right? And even visually, I mean, Scream is not at all similar in terms of visual with Nightmare on Elm Street. That is not similar at all with The Hills Have Eyes. That, you know, with The Last House on the Left. All these movies have very individual and interesting visuals and styles of direction, right? So I love that about Wes Craven. Also, he did Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We cannot forget about this one, the one that brought back Freddy Krueger. Not only he brought Freddy for us in the 80s, the birth of Freddy Krueger, but he brought it back in the 90s to take him out of the whole goofiness of that the franchise became, which I love, of course, but he tried to create a different kind of concept around this character, and again had a great idea for New Nightmare, which I think it should be used again for other movie. You know, this whole concept of a slasher monster demon in a franchise of movies that once the franchise is over, he becomes real and starts to go after the actors in the franchise. This is a great fucking concept, you know. It goes after the actors that were in this franchise. What a great concept, man. I mean, it should be done again in a different character, I guess. I don't know. Right now, we are approaching the end of the movie. Billy and Stu are getting their plans frustrated by Sydney. And she's getting back at them. She even got the whole voice modulator to threaten them. And then we have, you know, Stu is a goof, and even though he's a murderer, he's a clown that makes a lot of jokes. We have this scene where Sydney attacks Billy with the ghost face clothes. She's so cute because she's kind of petite with the suit of the ghost face, and you can see that is very it is a girl wearing the ghost face suit. And that's another thing that the other movies completely threw out of the window, the whole realism behind the Ghostface killer, right? I mean, he has to be a big guy in order to commit some of the murders in the Scream franchise, but in some of the other movies, it's always a girl that is very light in weight and short, like Emma Roberts or the girl from Scream 5, and you go, why? I mean, or the girl from Scream 6. I mean, there's no way she was a ghost face, the ghost face that we saw until now in the movie, right? Anyway, Sydney just killed Stu. She threw a television in his head, and until this day people want Stu to come back because they are not convinced he's actually dead. But after 6 movies, I don't think it's a good idea to bring him back now. I wouldn't be completely for that if it was in the 3rd movie, for example, right? Which wasn't a scrapped idea for the 3rd movie, that Stu was gonna come back, this time being the leader of a cult of ghost faces, and with many kids being part of a group. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. We never actually got to see that, but that was the first idea. And because of the whole some events that happen in schools, some very sinister events, I think you know what I mean, I don't want to mention them in this live. Some very sinister events that happened in schools at the time. They decided not to do that, and especially create a story with a group of kids that are murderers. They didn't think that was a good idea, and a guy being a cult leader, you know. So the whole Stu thing was scrapped, and they brought it to Hollywood. And then people are still not convinced that he's dead. And even I always thought he didn't die in this whole television set thing. He's not dead. I mean, Billy is dead, right? Because Sidney just shot him in the face. Now he's dead. We saw that, but Stu is not dead. I always thought they are saving him for a sequel, and for my surprise, they never brought him back. So that's interesting. And now the movie's ending. Everything is fine. Both killers are dead. Sidney just got her father back. Dewey was brought back as well, being put into an ambulance. This is the first of many times that he is put into an ambulance, and we actually waited for that. I think they play into that in the 5th movie. They make a little false expectation scene with a stretcher being put into an ambulance, but there's no Dewey there anymore. And that's very cruel. That's very sad. I always thought, oh man, Dewey, poor Dewey. 5 movies in and he dies. And we have the ending that is very abrupt, but very extremely adequate for this movie. The story's ended. There's no necessity to show Sidney, I don't know, in the future, or she's fine now, everything's back to normal. Just end the movie. We have the final jump scare in the credits. There you go. And that's it, directed by Wes Craven. And we have the great soundtracks that play in all these movies. I don't know about the 5th one or the 6th one, but all the movies until the 4th one, they have great soundtracks. And right now it's time to play the soundtracks in the final credits. I love them. And I actually made a video talking about horror movie soundtracks in the channel. It has a very few views. Please help me. That is one of my best videos. Go watch it. It's great. I have many examples of horror movie soundtracks that are iconic, especially in the Scream franchise, and in the 2nd movie that probably has one of my favorite songs from Collective Souls, the band, called She Said. But we talk about this in the next watch along with a Scream movie that will probably be Scream 2, right? Let's take our time and go back to the franchise. We have now this also very common thing in all the movies where all the characters are shown at the end. The names of the actors with one image of them in the movie. Yeah, what a great movie. And, you know, it was so popular, the box office was so great that they went right into the 2nd one year later, right? For me in Brazil, it came 2 years later, but in there it came 1 year later, which is crazy to think about. They really pushed hard for a sequel right away, and released it in 1 year, because I think these movies they're not expensive, right? They don't need a lot of time in post-production because of visual effects or other stuff. So yeah, they are easy to make. I mean, easy. No movie is easy to make, but they are easy to produce and in a fast manner. They did the same with Scream 6. And there you go. Now we are in the final credits. Let me just try something else. Like I said, if you guys can support the channel, help the Trashin with Gus to grow, I'm gonna turn on my lights. There you go. Everybody went, "Argh!" But let me see if I can show the cover of my book now with the lights on. I think now will work, right? I didn't want to break the mood during the movie. So let me try it now. Nope, still don't work. But I guess you can see it better, right? The Angel of Fire and Steel. You're gonna get this ebook for free if you support me on Patreon, depending on the category that you get. And in February, Letters from Mr. Solitude. This one you can see actually better, right? Anyway, this one you're gonna get in February. You just have to support the channel in the Patreon page, so you can help me grow this channel and help help me to make the channel grow, so I can have better equipment, can make videos that are a better experience for my viewers, and especially to spread my work in these books as a writer, which is my main goal in this life. If you are liking my videos, your support, your subscription is already, is already everything for me. But if you can support me there in the Patreon and help me to continue with the channel, because this is something that can happen. I don't know if I can continue the channel if I don't have this support from my subscribers, my viewers, the people that like my work. So if you can help me to continue this channel and to continue with my work as a book writer, I will be eternally grateful. I can't say that enough. I will have more videos here in the future, especially more lives. I still don't know what else can we watch. I mean, what other movie can we watch in the next live? But if you guys have any suggestions, or if you have any movie that you think I should watch and I haven't watched yet, maybe, because sometimes I mentioned this in my videos that there are still some movies that I didn't watch yet. We can make a live about it. Let's make this another category of videos in this channel, these lives. I'm really anxious to share this with you guys and to make the whole experience even better for everybody, even more fun. And today we didn't have many people coming into the live. I hope you can watch it later. But I truly also hope that you can come into the lives in the next videos, and we can talk and exchange, right? We can socialize in the next lives. That's my main goal, right? To talk with my viewers, to talk with you people, for you to talk with me during the movie and ask me questions and me to comment on things you want me to comment. That's one of my main goals in this channel, and to get closer to you. That's my thing. So this is it for now, guys. I'm gonna get to sleep now. It was a great night, great watch, great movie. See you in the next Trashin with Gus, and bye-bye. Now, let me shut off this live.